Super Duper Dylan knows. This is the wild area theme from the new Pokemon Sword and Shield video game on the Nintendo Switch. My wife has been playing Sword and Shield for a while, and when I've been listening with her on the couch while she's playing, and that music comes up, I was excited about it because you know how I love my bagpipes, so I got the bagpipes in there. And I figured it'd be a great way to introduce episode 349 of Dylan Knows, which is Super Duper Dylan Knows. And I'm going to try something new to drink. It's called Bang. Got it at Target today. This is black cherry vanilla. Never had it before. So they had 4 flavors. I got a cotton candy, a unicorn rainbow, and blue raz. So let's see if this is any good. This is the first time I've ever had it. So here we go. Live on Dylan Knows. It's black cherry vanilla. It's got kind of a weird metallic-y sort of taste, but that's all right. So that's it for Dylan Knows. So my first taste test, I think I'll like it pretty much. I'm wondering what the cotton candy and the unicorn rainbow are going to taste like, but hey, that's all right. And hey, for the first time, oh, I got one up here there, so that's good. So thank you for watching today's episode. It is May the 16th, I believe. Yep, May 16th. Today should have been the Preakness, which is the second leg of the Triple Crown horse races that's done here in Baltimore. But we are still under quarantine, though. I will be talking about today that Baltimore, or rather I should say Maryland, has opened up, kind of. I'll explain that in a little bit. Also some other local news going on as well. A lot of weird AI stuff this week, some weird aliens and weird sightings and weird things going on. The world's weirdness factor seems to be ramping up lately as more and more of these articles have been popping up on Facebook recently. I am extraordinarily upset at Missouri Western State University, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Blow-up dolls and mannequins are in the news this week. Astronomers are, that's part of the weird stuff going on. All kinds of just weird things. Some interesting deaths this week, including one that I literally just found out about 5 minutes before I came on the show. So we'll talk about those as well. You've all seen the viral video, and we're going to talk a little bit about corpse waving. We'll talk about that a little bit also. We're going to talk about something called Point Nemo. Percy Jackson fans rejoice. Something amazing is going to be happening probably by next year. Timothy Olyphant is going into another sort of Western type film. Disney Plus stuff going on. Devo's in the news for the first time in a while. A bad boy gets good stuff, which I have problems with. I'll talk about that a little bit. A good amount of jerky people this week. I'm going to shame them this week. Also, IKEA has a warning for people who masturbate. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Some weird football stuff going on. Book review of my latest book, Isaac Storm, which I'll do a quick review of that. Lapras is in the news. Pokemon Go, of course, in the news. I got a lot of stuff going on, about 4 pages of stuff to go cover today. And you thought the murder wasps were bad. Just wait till you see what else is going to be hitting Washington soon. Corgi butts. Venus is in the news. Arby's, Amazon, and AMC, the AMC theaters. AMC television network has got an interesting new thing to follow up. And because it is 2020 and because it's already a weird year, there's Tropical Storm on the way 3 weeks early. So we're going to cover all that today on Dylan Knows, episode 349, Super Duper Dylan Knows. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of that, but it's okay. Tastes pretty good. I'll drink it. It's cold. Excuse me. It's liquid. And we'll keep talking. Last week, I was talking about how brutally cold and snowy it was. We actually did get snow last Saturday. Hence, the name of the episode last week was Snow Was Made for May. This week, however, today, actually yesterday was the big day, but yesterday and today we were in the summer zone. 88 degrees in Baltimore yesterday, 81, 82 degrees today in Baltimore. So it's a little bit warmer over the last couple of days. We're going to get back to some normal temperatures starting tonight. Temperatures are going to get into the 50s, I believe, as a low, and then 70s as high, up 73 and 71. But then this is Maryland, so 73 and 71 Sunday and Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, 57 degrees. Thursday, 64, and Friday through next Sunday, 73. I'm sorry, 73, 78, 73, 78. So we're gonna get back to normal, a little bit warm next weekend, but 57 later this week after temperatures of 88 and 84. Man, weird stuff going on. And we're going to talk about some of that weird stuff happening that might be affected by things. But let's start with a couple of Maryland news. Governor Hogan announced that on Wednesday, that on Friday, starting at 5 o'clock, Maryland was going to begin to enter phase one, which at the time meant that they would open up some of the stores, and you would have to keep at 50% capacity. You still could not go into restaurants, but the stores would be open up. Manufacturing is starting up again. So all the lower manufacturing groups that had been shut down have now been reopened. What else was there that they were talking about? Haircuts, salons, stuff like, again, we're going to open up by appointment only. So you had to make appointments to get there, and they had to keep the people down. And then he throws out this, but we'll allow the county executives to make their decisions. So basically he said, we're open in Maryland, but it's up to the county executives if they want to follow suit with us. So Baltimore County exec Johnny Yo said, not so fast. Stores will not be opening at 50% capacity. Stores will remain closed, but those stores that were supposed to open can now do curbside pickups and deliveries if you want. I'll explain what that means in a second. Haircuts and salons, no, we're not going to do that. And I guess those are the main big ones you need to watch out for. So, and that stay at home is now still in place in Baltimore County, and actually a lot of other counties are involved with that as well. But there's one or two that are going, you know what, let's open everything up to our 50% capacity. So there are some in Maryland that are open, and there are some that aren't. So I think Baltimore County, they want to wait till the end of May, I think, to see how things go, because right now, even though we've had the plateau of corona cases and deaths sort of, even out and sort of stayed steady and hasn't gone up or down either way, that's the sign that, the CDC said you might be able to start implementing phase one. So that's what they did. But at the same time, though, it's not like all of a sudden it's going down. It's staying steady. So there's still COVID-19 cases out there. There's still deaths. There's still people who are sick and contracted it. So it's not going up or down. It's just staying level. So I don't know what that means. So I think what Baltimore County wants to do is they're going to take a look to see if maybe that plateau, because, a good sign of something that keeps going straight for a while is eventually going to either start going down or start going back up again. That's just the way it's going to be. So they want to wait and see what's going to happen. So I think they're going to wait till the end of May to fully determine what they want to do. And then say maybe we'll start implementing some of these changes that they're expecting. So to be continued on that end, we'll see. But a few interesting things about that is here locally. The Cal, which is one of my favorite places right here, it's like a local Rita's. It's like Rita's Italian Ice, but it's locally owned, and they use the products from the area and stuff like that. So it's got Italian ice and ice cream and banana splits and root beer floats and all kinds of stuff. Concrete, which is ice cream mixed with all kinds of stuff like gummy bears and Reese's peanut butter cups, stuff like that, into one big thing, and you eat that. So the Cal had been closed since they did the stay-at-home order way back in March. Excuse me. But the Chill, which was a snowball stand, they opened up a couple weeks ago at their usual time. And a lot of people are like, well, why are they opening and not the Cow? Well, the main reason why is because since the Cow is considered like a food sort of place and Chill is also, they are going with the whole, you can go and do pickup. You can't eat it. You can go pick it up. You keep your 6 feet distance, social distancing, masks and stuff like that, and we'll open up and you can have your stuff. So when they decided they were going to do phase 1, the Cow decided, hey, why don't we reopen up? Plus, it's going to start getting warmer since we're entering the summer months when they usually make their most money. So it sort of makes sense. They opened up in March. So March and April are usually probably a little bit slower for them because the temperature is always kind of weird in those time frames, and particularly sometimes more on the chilly side, meaning that not as many people are going to want ice cream and stuff like that. So in this case, they probably were saying, you know what, we weren't going to get a lot of people anyway, so let's just close and keep things safe. But once things seem to be turning around a little bit and it starts to get warm again, maybe we should reopen up. And so that they have. So we went, me, my son and daughter, on Friday when they opened. No, it was Thursday when they opened up. We went at 1 o'clock, which was an hour after they opened, and there was nobody there, but we got our Cal stuff, and so that was good. I had a egg custard gelati with vanilla ice cream. My daughter had vanilla chocolate swirled ice cream. My son had a root beer float, so that was good. So we had some of that. So it's been open. I drove by there today during this heat wave, and the line was out the door. They had, as I said, the 6-foot social distancing, so it was going out onto the sidewalk, obviously, because there's lots of people and you need the space in between. So that was good. So they're doing really well. And my comic book store came up with the idea they're going to do curbside now also. So if you want something from them, you can email them, text them, call them, and say, I want this, 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 and this. And then you give them your card number, and they will run your card and charge your account. And then you drive up to the shop. They will come out and they will deliver it to your vehicle, and you can leave. You do not get to go inside. They will deliver it to you. If you want to look around a little bit, ask them. They'll put you on like a video call sort of thing, and you'll be able to pick out stuff for them to get for you, and then you can run your card and stuff like that. So it's kind of good. So what I'm going to do is, since I moved here 16 years ago, I've been holding off on getting a subscription because I've had issues before where I've gone without comics for a while. And up to this point, I had not missed really a week of comics. So I've been doing them weekly, as it were. So in the end, I decided during this period that may as well join the subscription service. So I think tomorrow I'm going to come down here, look through the computer again, join the subscription service, and get my comics, because Diamond is going to start shipping stuff out on Wednesday the 20th. So, which is this upcoming Wednesday, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yes. So that'll be doing that. So that's going to be okay about that. So we're going to do that. But speaking of that, DC Comics has approved Tuesday sales of new comics if the stores want to release them early. So basically, if you get your DC Comics early from these new distributors or from Diamond early, DC is okay with you putting them on sale on Tuesday. Marvel, I think, is still going to wait till Wednesdays, but DC said you can go ahead and start them on Tuesday if you want. So we'll see what happens with that, and that should be all good. So we'll see what happens. I'll take a look and see what they have. Since I haven't really been reading that many comics recently, I've been more obsessed with books and stuff like that. I haven't been reading a lot of comics, but I've still got that collection aspect in me that I still want to get the stuff and be sure I get caught up and so on and so forth. So I probably won't get as many as I usually do, but I am going to do that, though. Another Maryland thing, a Maryland couple, age 85 and 86, die in a shooting at a Delaware Vets cemetery. That was earlier this week. What kind of a world do we live in where older people can get killed in a cemetery? That just is messed up and insane. I've got one more Maryland story, but I'm going to wait till the end because I'm going to save it for the last story of the day because it's a doozy. It's a typical Baltimore story. I don't know if I'm going to go back and get these ever again, but they're all right. I mean, excuse me. Oops, happens. The idiot in charge at the White House was really excited when he announced a super duper missile, which is going to be 17 times the power of any missile in the world. And they have it, and it's all part of Space Force. He literally called it super duper missile. I have no words on that, and I'm just going to move on because I'm still pissed off about this. Missouri Western State University decides that they're going to cut history, philosophy, and religion programs at their college. I guess in some ways I can understand, maybe because those certain majors don't really offer, big time jobs out in the real world, stuff like that. I have a history major. That, seeing this sort of makes me a little pissed off because it's almost as if that my decision to be a history major is not as important as someone else who wanted to do English or something like that. So I'm a little pissed off about that. But what really gets my goat is that, so they're getting rid of history, which you need because it's true. If you don't learn your history, you're going to repeat it, and it's not going to work out. It's already been proven this doesn't work, and yet you're repeating it, and it's not going to work again. You need to learn your history. You know, it's boring words, stuff like that. History is fascinating, and that might just be my personal opinion. And these books I've been reading since this quarantine has been going on have absolutely increased my love of history even more and makes me want to order more. I've ordered a whole bunch. Actually, I think all my history books have come in now. I don't think I have any more on my Amazon list. Do I have any other books coming? Nope, I don't. I got something for my daughter, something for me, something for my wife and daughter, something for my son, something for me. So yes, but I have a whole bunch of history books on my list here, including the eruption of Mount St. Helens, Vikings, stories about Vikings, stories about Ireland, waking up on the Appalachian Trail. Someone who walked the entirety of the Appalachian Trail wrote their story about it. Just all kinds of stuff. The sinking of the Lusitania, stuff like that. I got a ton of books still waiting to read, and I'll be reading them. I'm actually reading right now Tip and the Gipper, which is about Tip O'Neill, the Speaker of the House in the 1980s, and Ronald Reagan's relationship, since Tip was a Democrat and Ronald was a Republican, and how they worked together to create a stable government in the 1980s. So it's something that I haven't read, and I knew a little bit about. But during that time frame, during the Reagan eras, I was 80 to 88. I was between the ages of 7 and 15. So I wasn't really paying much attention to history at that time. So it's good to read this stuff. Plus, I've been reading a lot of stuff about the 1900s and 1800s and stuff like that. I wanted to do something a little bit more modern. So I'm going with that. So I'm kind of pissed about that. But what makes me even more worse is that they are creating an esports management major. Esports, electronic sports, like video games and shit. Managing video games. Yes, again, that is a job you can probably do nowadays, but to cut history, philosophy, and religion, which have been staples in colleges all across the world, for esports majors. Maybe it's a way to get more people to want to go to college. I don't know, but that just seems like, hey, let's major in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. PCU did a really good job about making fun of that type of stuff. So I don't know. I'm disappointed. So we'll see. So this whole social distancing thing is going on, and people are itching to get out and go get their haircuts and go to restaurants, stuff like that. Well, some restaurants have decided if they're allowed to open, they are going to, still keep the social distancing going on. So there's there's two separate restaurants that are using these. One restaurant is using dressed up blow-up dolls, and the other is using old-fashioned mannequins. And what they're basically doing is they're opening up the restaurant and they're putting the blow-up dolls and the mannequins in empty tables that will separate, so you don't sit at those tables. So they'll separate people from having to be near each other when they're eating. So you have blow-up doll, and then you may blow-up doll here, and then someone else over here. So it's going to be enough distancing, but it makes it looks like your restaurant is still pretty full. So I guess you got to do what you got to do. Later on in the episode, we're going to talk about what Germany did. I think it was Germany or Switzerland. That what they did to keep their social distancing at restaurants as well. Let me see. Do I see it in here? Let me just see if I see it in here, and then I'll tell you. No, I don't, but I'll find it. It will get there eventually. Don't worry about that. Let's see. So that's all weird stuff. I'm going to go on a weird stuff kick there in a second. We'll start here, I guess, basically. This is the rest of the stuff is pretty weird stuff. Student finds a golden cannonball on the beach with an 185 million year old fossil inside of it. A golden cannonball with a fossil in it is like archaeological bingo. It is just insane that something like that actually exists, but it does, and this student found it, and that's kind of weird. Other weird stuff that's been found recently: 60 peculiar cubes with inscriptions on it have been pulled from the Cove River. I'm not exactly sure where the Cove River is, but these are weird blocks that have all kinds of weird inscriptions on it, and they were never discovered until now in 2020 when everything is going to shit. I don't know. Is that a coincidence? Possible, because these next few stories are exploding the weird quotient here in 2020. A strange staircase leading to the top of the mountain has been found in Antarctica. So how the hell does a staircase get made in a mountain that goes up to the summit? And there's pictures of it. So it's not just someone saying, oh, I saw stairs. No, there's an actual picture of this stairway going up the mountains, which is like, huh? What? Rio de Janeiro is in the news this week. You might not have heard about it, though, but if you've been following YouTube and you know some of these weird alien YouTube channels that I seem to follow because I'm a weird alien as it is, you discovered that this past week alone in Rio de Janeiro have been numerous sightings from numerous people from all over Brazil, not just Rio de Janeiro, but all over Brazil, but mostly centered in the Rio de Janeiro area, which is the biggest city in Brazil. And it has been glowing balls of light have been spotted in the sky, not like comets or asteroids or whatever that like that. It's stuff that stays in the air and floats and moves around like this and then whew, goes away. There's been multicolored ones, oranges, greens, yellows, reds. So they've been taking lots of pictures. Lots of pictures have been taken of these strange lights, and they've been posted on the Rio websites and the news websites from Rio. The YouTube channels have got all this stuff. And then they don't know, and then they think that there is something else going on, a cover-up might be going on, because a video came out that someone said that they found one that was crashing to the earth. So they drove out to find it, and they have the video of a perfect circle sphere with a blue light in it that's smoking off of it, and they're just staying real close and just moving back and forth. It is a perfectly clear picture of this device, but a lot of people think that it is actually a faked sighting to throw off people from declaring that they're seeing these strange lights in the sky. So could it be real? I don't know. Could it be part of these strange lights? I don't know. Or is it the government trying to say, look here, but we got something over here? Don't look here, but we got something here. That'll keep your eye over here, and don't worry about this stuff over here, which is the weird, real problem, and this is the fake problem. So we'll see what happens. To be continued with that. I'll find out more about that as we go on and on. Astronomers have found regular rhythms coming from a distant star, which I think I've talked about various things like that before. There's been constant messages and beeps and stuff like that coming from a specific star at a certain interval every 8 hours, something like that. It happens. So no one can explain what it is. So there's something else weird going on in the world. More bad news for 2020. According to scientists, this isn't just psychos and weirdos, the sun is going into lockdown, which is something that happens every 200 some years, it looks like, where basically the sun has no sunspots and no action on the surface. And that is allowing more cosmic rays to come into the universe and hit the Earth and not be as, blocked or distracted or destroyed by the sun, because there is no energy in the sun right now, going on in the sun right now. So that is going to cause health issues to spike, and supposed to, since the temperature, the sun is not as active, it's not sending off as many magnetic waves, so you're not going to be getting the auroras as much anymore for the foreseeable future. And also, it's supposed to make things cooler because, as I've said, there's been historical proof. One was like 1828, then one was like 16 something, where there was another incident where this sort of happened, and the temperatures were way below normal for the whole year while the sun was going through this cycle. It's a cycle the sun goes through, and then eventually within the sun, a chemical reaction will happen and the sunspots will start coming out again. And then, as you know, in about 10-year cycles, you're going to have these massive sunspot and activity that's going to make things totally crazy. But for now, we're in the reverse of that right now. So they're saying that you're going to see a drop in the aurora borealis. You're supposed to see a drop in temperature, and you're going to have more cosmic rays hitting the Earth, which would cause more problems for people in space and also people on Earth. It's also going to cause a drop in earthquakes for whatever reason that's all about. So I'm not exactly sure what that's about either. But supposedly it causes a drop in earthquakes. So earthquakes will not be affected, except there was one earlier this week. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, which may have a specific weird unnatural, man-made sort of earthquake than a regular one, if this is indeed the case with what's going on with the sun. But due to the fact that we've been creating global warming here on the Earth, or climate change, whatever you want to call it, the temperature on the Earth's surface is way hotter, that this change in temperature is really not going to be as noticeable as it was in 1800s and the 1600s. So that's a plus, I guess. So that's another one to be continued on. Again, that's something that scientists have said, and not just some random weirdo psycho going, oh, the sun's not being active. I mean, the sun is still out there. It's still warming stuff, because it was 88 degrees yesterday, so it was still freaking warm yesterday. It's just that there's not any action going on the surface of the sun right now, which is a normal thing. So just to keep an eye on that as well. Let's see. Should I continue? Yeah, let's continue with the weird stuff, because I got a whole bunch of weird stuff right here. I've seen these before in Mexico and other places as well. Back in the early 2000s, there was a show called Sighting, actually maybe even the 1990s, show called Sightings and Unsolved Mysteries that would do, mostly Sightings was the one that did a lot of these. And there were other shows that came on about paranormal stuff that were on like Fox, stuff like that. One show they did was about these strange humanoid all black humanoids floating in the air over major cities in Mexico. They called them La Bruja, which is witch in Spanish. But they've had lots of video of just these floating people in the sky. So it's not just one weirdo psycho taking these pictures. It's a whole bunch of people taking pictures of these humanoids, black shadowed humanoids floating in the air and moving around in the air without it being really anything they could tell. Doesn't look like a bird or plane or Superman or whatever. It's just a standing all black shadowy figure in the sky. Now, as I said, was seen in Mexico and South America for a lot of times around the turn of the century, in the 1990s, stuff like that. Well, now they're being spotted in Russia and Switzerland now too. Again, videos which are almost identical to the ones that were in Mexico and South America back 20, 30 years ago have now been shown up now in Russia and Switzerland. So we don't know what these humanoid objects are. They are kind of creepy looking. As I said, they're just these, it literally looks like someone is floating in air in all black, and it looks really creepy. So we'll see what happens about that. Okay, I'm just seeing what else. Oh yeah, here's the six. So the 6.5 megawatt earthquake, or whatever the magnitude. I'm sorry, 6.5 magnitude earthquake hit Nevada near Area 51, which was felt all the way to Utah and California this week. So being that close to Area 51, maybe it could actually have been something else that happened in that area. But it's also been known to be a earthquake prone area as well. But we'll see what happens with that. But that is something that did happen this week, and it was near Area 51, which is kind of weird. Again, I was talking about these weird objects in the sky in Rio de Janeiro, stuff like that. There is a green comet that is visible right now with your naked eye, except again, better views in the southern hemisphere, but here in the northern hemisphere, it'd be like that meteor shower we had earlier this month, where you just have to look at the very, very horizon. You got the clear view of the horizon. You might be able to see it early in the morning, but that is going on right now. They just discovered this green comet a couple weeks ago, so it is now visible via the naked eye, but again, better view in southern hemisphere. Up here, as I said, you might be able to see it, but it has to be early in the morning. You have to have a clear view of the southern horizon to see it, because it's that close to the horizon. Because the Earth is round. Video has been examined that makes it look like that there might be mushrooms on Mars. These strange objects that I guess very well could be stones of some kind, though, have a weird mushroom-looking shape, and they're in bunches and groups scattered all over the whole planet, basically. So it's not just in one area. So a lot of people are thinking, that's kind of interesting that that is out and about as well. Some AI stuff. A woman called up a police or FBI group or whatever, claiming that a Japanese laboratory had created 4 humanoid robots that are controlled by artificial intelligence. And the robots went berserk and killed 29 scientists at this Japanese lab. There is a cover-up going on right now, and they said that they were able to deactivate 2 of the androids with the AI and destroyed one of them, leaving one that learned how to rebuild itself and is now possibly might be out and about. I don't know if I really believe that too much, but the fact is, it's just the way this year is. Who knows? Stuff like that sounds like something that could happen. AIs are also taking tickets now at South Korean movie theaters. They're not the evil human killing kind, but it's the fact that AIs are starting to become more and more prevalent in areas, particularly in South Korea, taking movie theater tickets now instead of having movie theater people take them is a interesting thing to look at. And an AI robot has also been rumored to have told its creator that he would keep it in a people zoo. Again, I don't think that that's true. I think the article I read was one of those tongue-in-cheek Onion type ones, but it wasn't the Onion, but it seemed to be from a source. At this point, I'm almost doubting that one didn't happen. I'm almost pretty sure that the 4 AI robots did not kill 29 scientists in Japan. I don't think that that's possible either, but I figured those would make for some interesting stuff to discuss on today's show. Harry Potter fans, the invisibility cloaks may be closer than you think. There have been invisibility cloaks that might be able to turn tanks and aircraft completely invisible, as well as soldiers. So they're being worked on. It's being worked on right now. So again, it's something that was in a magic story for kids is now being thought of was we might be able to make this, and they're trying to figure out how to do it. What else is there going on? The big story this week, excuse me, was the viral video of a funeral, I believe in, again, like South America or Africa or something like that, where someone was videotaping the funeral because I guess it's a loved one and they wanted to videotape it. And the coffin's in the ground and the families are around it singing a hymn or whatever, and the priest is blessing it and stuff like that. And the camera's on the coffin, and there's like a window in the coffin, and there's one sequence in the video where in that window it looks like the hand goes, it moves. Now, all of a sudden, a bunch of things just rolled out of that. One, that they were burying somebody alive and they didn't realize it. Two, that it could be like a zombie sort of thing, a zombie coming back to life or whatever. Or three, what is more than likely what actually happened and is the scientific proof about it is that rigor mortis probably set in, which would cause, depending on where things go, the body to move like that. But it literally, I watched the video. It's really kind of creepy to see the hand just sort of, it's not there, and then all of a sudden it pops into view. But I believe that the rigor mortis is probably more of a truthful idea than someone being buried alive, or obviously a zombie as well. But that is the top viral video, creepy viral video this week. You probably have heard about it, probably have seen an article or something online about it. If not, it's all over YouTube. Just type in corpse waves and you'll find the video. It's I'm not going to show it on here because it's really hard to see it unless you're looking at it directly on your own phone. I didn't know about this, but there is a place called Point Nemo here on the Earth. It is the most inaccessible place on Earth. It is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean in an area that on all sides, all around it, it's 1,000 miles anyway to any type of land, which means that if you end up there, you're shit out of luck for the most part. It's also considered to be a dead area where barely any ocean life goes to. There is some. The Yeti Crab is one of the creatures that's been discovered in that area. It's also an area that has very little wind, and the water is very calm, and not many storms go there. It is considered a cemetery for satellites. NASA and the Russian space agencies and all the space agencies know about this place. It's far enough away and deep enough from any life, and the fact that they know that there's hardly any life in that area. So they're able to angle their satellites or space stations that are done being rotating around the Earth, orbiting around the Earth, and are crashing into Earth so that it does not kill people or crash into land and kill people or have radioactive issues, stuff like that. Obviously, there's probably going to be still some sort of radioactive issue if something leaks out of that area, and eventually it'll spread out to the rest of the ocean. But as I said, there's not a lot of current, there's not a lot of water, there's not a lot of wind, not a lot of current, and there's not a lot of life in that area. So they've been angling that to be their satellite. So if you went to that area and went in a submarine down there, you would see tons and tons of mangled satellites and space stations, stuff like that. The International Space Station, which is going on up and is rotating the Earth right now, I think is going to be working until 2028, I believe. And then after that, they are going to crash it into Point Nemo. Also, it is an area where micro pieces of plastic and debris happen to eventually get their way and flow to that general area as well. It was also an area that had a weird bloop noise that was recorded, but that has been discovered to be an ice quake near Antarctica. Because again, Antarctica is about 1,000 miles from this area. So it's one of these really weird kind of areas, and it's an area that has, fascinated people for a while. Some people believe that it is the location of where Cthulhu was, or could be, and there might be strange creatures there or whatever. So Point Nemo is an actual place. Look it up. Getting away from weird stuff right now, the Alamo Drafthouse, which is a fairly successful movie chain, is actually shuttering its doors in Arizona. It's going to stay open probably in Texas, and the main one that opened first is in Austin, Texas. So that one's going to probably still be open. But that's going to be shutting down due to COVID-19, and all this stuff has already caused enough issues and problems that it's not going to be able to open back up again. 14,000 entertainment jobs have been lost in Hollywood due to COVID-19. That's a lot of people losing jobs, but you know what? Everybody's losing jobs around here, so why should Hollywood be any different? A massive python was discovered on a woman's fence in Australia. Australia already has weird, bizarre creatures anyway. Why not have a big, giant python in your backyard crawling on your fence? A high school senior makes history with a 5.6 GPA and became the first black valedictorian at his high school. A 5.6 GPA is 1.6 higher than a perfect GPA. And I'm still trying to figure out how was he able to access that. But he did, apparently. So, you know what? Good for him. He's as good. It's great. A 5.6 GPA is absolutely insane. But that's pretty cool. Peanut butter, Cool Whip, cooked lasagna dessert is the new biggest dessert that everybody out there is making nowadays during quarantine time. It just sounds decadent, and it's not really like a lasagna. It's not like noodles and spaghetti sauce along with this stuff. No, they call it lasagna because it's layered. You're going to have your Cool Whip, your peanut butter, your other stuff, and then have other layers of it all the way down. That's what makes the lasagna. Peach cobbler and s'mores Breyers ice cream are going to be your new ice cream flavors of choice for this summer. They are Breyers' newest flavors. They haven't really done too many new flavors in a while. Here, you're going to have two new ones. The s'mores one sounds interesting. Peach cobbler, never been a fan of peach, so probably not going to pick that up, but should be good. And I think they're going to be ones that have like chunks of stuff in it. Like there's going to be chunks of peach cobbler and s'more stuff, like graham cracker things still on. So that'd be cool. Eco-friendly bookshelf can turn into a coffin. So you can have this bookshelf in your house, and you have all your books on it, stuff like that. And then, it could be there forever. And then eventually you die. And so they say, you know what? Let's just take all the books off, pull out the slats, plop the body in, boom, bury it. So it's eco-friendly. It's a great idea. Some entertainment news. Mandalorian Season 2 was all over the news this week. The first news about that is that the Season 2 will not be delayed due to coronavirus because it is mostly a computer-generated show, and they've already finished filming, so they're just presently editing it right now and getting it stuff ready. It'll be ready for its November debut, so that's good for fans of Season 2. A lot of fans are beginning to get a little anxious because they're introducing all these characters. Ahsoka Tano is supposed to be in it, and Boba Fett, as I mentioned, is supposed to be in it as well. Now comes word this week that Katie Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica fame, who also voiced the role of Bo-Katan, will be playing the live-action version of Bo-Katan in Mandalorian Season 2. So again, you have another character being thrown into Mandalorian Part 2 that is connected to the Clone Wars. A lot of people are upset about that because they preferred that the Mandalorian would have stood alone on its own, creating new characters and stuff like that. But I guess, with Dave Filoni being one of the producers and the guy who produced the Clone Wars, he wants to do a live action version when he can. So we'll see. I'm okay with it as long as the stories are good and they keep going and they don't overwhelm the Mandalorian character. then I'll be fine with that. And Tim Olyphant has also been cast in the new season of Mandalorian in an undisclosed role right now. But again, with Mandalorian being sort of a Western sort of film or TV show, rather, you've got Tim coming back to a genre he knows well from Deadwood and also his appearance in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And hard to believe that Tim Olyphant was the guy who was in Scream 2 and had a big role in that as well. So you have that. But the biggest entertainment news of the week, and I've been talking about this because it's been rumored for years now, but it is now officially set in stone, been signed, dotted, and is been put up on the board of coming to Disney Plus. We are going to have a faithful Percy Jackson TV series on Disney Plus. The reason why I know it's going to be faithful is because Rick Riordan, who is the writer of the Percy Jackson series, which is one of my kids, my sons and daughters, they've read all the Percy Jackson books except for the Apollo one. My daughter has read 3 of the Apollo ones, hasn't read the newest one that just came out. I got it for her, but she's been focusing on other stuff right now. But she still was always angry because she loved the Percy Jackson stories. It got her into her interest in mythology. And when we saw the movie versions of it, she was disappointed because the movie versions were terrible. But now Rick Riordan is going to actually have his hands in the pie with his wife, and they are going to be all over it. I think they said that it's going to be a book a season. So the first series is going to last 5 seasons. And who knows? I mean, right now they've got 2 big series. Yeah, there's 2 series that are 5 books each. So if you want to go for a 10 season show, that might work. And then you could always throw the Apollo stuff in there as well. And then he's done some other stuff with Egyptian and Norse mythology. So if he wants to, he can probably, if Percy Jackson's successful, he might be able to push those as a TV show also. So we might be seeing a lot of Percy Jackson in the future, at least 5 seasons, probably a book. So because a lot happens in the books. It's crazy to think you get to the end of book 5 of the first series and you're like, God, a lot happened. So it makes sense. So I'm very excited about that. I know my daughter's very excited about that. Could get her back into it. And it's going to be on Disney Plus. So another good reason why to keep Disney Plus around. This week's Death List has some big names on it. We'll get to those in a few minutes. But first up, we have the Trading Spaces designer, Frank Beall, dead at the age of 72 due to a heart attack. Rocky and Swamp Thing production designer, Dave Nichols, I think that's his name, dies at age 78. Rapper Nick Blixey, dead at 21 due to a shooting. Melissa Etheridge's 21-year-old son has died from opiate overdose. Martin Pascal, a comic book writer from the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and then he shifted over to the DC animated movies, and also was a correspondent of mine for a while on Twitter. We sort of haven't we've gotten apart for a while, but we had conversations here and there. He's passed away this week at the age of 65 due to natural causes. One I just found out about literally just before I came on the air today. Like literally, it was like at 10 o'clock when I just go. This Phyllis George, who was a Kentucky first lady. I guess meaning she was the wife of a Kentucky governor, I guess, was a Miss America in the 70s and was also one of the sports announcers, female sports announcers, who was able to sit with the big guys in the 1980s and talk football for the NFL today and open the doors for many female sports casters, so like that. Died at the age of 70 today. What is that one? Oh, Avengers Endgame set designer Leslie Pope died at the age of 65 this week as well. Last week, we had, it seemed like everyone was a singer that passed away last week. Well, on Sunday, right after I did the show on Saturday, on Sunday we had another singer die, so I kind of connect that to last week's stuff. Betty Wright, who was an R&B singer, died at the age of 68. George Santana, the brother of Carlos Santana, died at the age of 68 today as well. Artist Richard Sala passed away at the age of 61. Rockford Peach pitcher Mary Pratt died at the age of 101 this week. The Rockford Peaches were made famous in a league of their own, that great baseball movie there. And the double rainbow guy, Paul Vasquez, dead at 57, who went viral years ago by filming a double rainbow and going, "Whoa, look at it, double rainbow. It's so peaceful." He was high off his head, but he was a famous YouTube star there for a while. He died at the age of 57 this week. Director Lynn Shelton died at the age of 54. She directed a number of Netflix shows, including Glow, and also was a director on Mad Men and did a bunch of independent films as well. She passed away this week at the age of 54. Fred Willard, man of 1,000 faces, been in a ton of movies, is the only live action actor to ever appear in a Pixar film. That would be WALL-E. Passed away at the age of 86 today, actually. And the big death this week was Jerry Stiller, Ben Stiller's father, George Costanza's father from Seinfeld, and was also in the original Hairspray as well, was married to Divine in that one and was great. And he's done a ton of stuff, but he's mostly known for his roles on Seinfeld and also The King of Queens. He was in that Kevin James show as well. He was married to his wife, Ann Mara, forever. And their son was Ben Stiller, who you all know about him. He passed away at the age of 92 this week. So that's this week's death. It's still sad to see a lot of people, but it looks like that not too many were dying from COVID-19, just sort of like similar to 2016. It just seems like there's a lot more death than usual in the entertainment world this year than usual times. So we'll see what happens. So we're only a page and a half done, and I still have 2.5 pages to go. And we're at 52 minutes. This one's going to be a long one, folks. So I'm going to try to blow through this one as much as I can. So I'm going to try to keep this to about an hour and a half. So let's see if I can do it. Okay. Toucan Sam has been redesigned. He looks more derpy and has a manga influence. I'm not sure if I like how it looks. I kind of like the original design of the Toucan Sam, but change's got to change sometimes. Cat learns to crawl on the ceiling like a spider. There's videotapes of a cat actually climbing up a wall and climbing on the ceiling. It's kind of creepy to see that as well. But, there's reasonable explanations for it. The cat can probably just has really good reflexes. Devo, you remember Devo from the 1980s, and you remember their big helmets with the red, look like Sire and stuff like that? Well, they've created a face mask for people in hospitals and to protect them from COVID-19 that has that red top, but also has a face shield in front of it. So I think that's kind of cool. And they're giving that out to hospitals and people who work in retail and stuff like that, so they don't get infected with the COVID-19 disease. Sam's Club has created something called Snickers popcorn. It's basically taking popcorn and mixing it with bits and pieces of Snickers so that they're all sticking together. So it's a nice little snack. You can get your popcorn flavor and your Snickers flavor at the same time. Actually sounds pretty good, so maybe we'll get that as well. A new Star Trek series featuring Pike, who was introduced in the Star Trek Discovery series. Same actor and his crew are going to be coming, and they're going to have a Spock on that as well. Will be coming to CBS, and since that series is set in the main timeline, it's going to set up the stuff that happens in the regular Star Trek series. So that's pretty good. They say that the show is going to be more like the old series, which is going to have sort of standalone episodes and be more cheerful and upbeat and outgoing than Discovery and Picard and stuff that's been going like that. So that is coming out soon. So a lot of Star Trek fans are happy and excited about that. Netflix has nabbed the Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt superhero film Ball and Chain based on a comic book series. So that'll be coming soon. A cat. Here's what I'm talking about. This is one of the things I was talking about, where we talk about the blow up dolls and the mannequins earlier being used to do social distancing in restaurants. Well, here in Germany, a cafe in Germany has reopened by giving patrons hats with pool noodles on them. You know, the big things you get at the pool that keeps the social distancing apart as well, so they stay apart. So it's a big ass thing on your head, and you have to wear it if you're going to eat at that restaurant. So good on Germany for that. This is kind of an interesting story. A New York teen was legally and clinically dead for 3 minutes, and then he was revived. When he was revived, he says that there is a heaven, and God looks like Mace Windu from Star Wars on Geonosis. So heaven looks like Geonosis, and God looks like Samuel L. Jackson, Mace Windu. Maybe. Who's to say they're wrong? Who's to say that God isn't what you want it to be? God may be something different for everybody. So maybe for him, God is Mace Windu on Geonosis. Maybe because he likes Samuel L. Jackson and he likes Attack of the Clones. I don't know why you'd like Attack of the Clones, but that's besides the point. But that's a pretty cool story. I like that. Scientists have found the perfect spot for a Mars settlement. So when they decide to send people to Mars, they're going to send it to an area that actually has lava tubes, which are these, if Mars has been mapped millions of times over and has had rovers all over it. They've discovered sort of these caves that have been discovered and seen from the surface and then from the air. And they're actual caves. They're not like some fake pictures or whatever. They were called the lava domes. And that was at one time, obviously, that when Mars was active, they had volcanoes, and there's lava domes like that on Earth. So that since there's no earthquakes or rather volcanoes apparently on Mars right now, and they're abandoned, a lot of people believe that maybe that's the entrance to where the aliens actually are. The aliens are under the ground. But putting aside the alien aspect of it, scientists are saying this might be the best place to land Mars astronauts to get them out of the way, because there's hardly any atmosphere to keep the cosmic rays from making them sick and stuff like that. So it might be best you can set up your scientific equipment, stuff like that on the surface, but you will survive and live underground in these lava tubes. It makes a lot of sense, and we'll see if it actually happens. Last week, I told you a story about the 5-year-old kid who stole his parents' car to drive to Los Angeles because he wanted to buy a Lamborghini. Unfortunately, Jamie Foxx and Shaquille O'Neal have decided to reward this bad behavior by taking this kid on a trip to California so that he can actually take a look at Lamborghinis and sit in them and rev the engines. He's not buying one, but the fact is you are rewarding him for doing something wrong, and I'm not sure I like that idea, but it's not my decision. Oh well. This is so perfect because this is leap year, and God, this year has been so long already. It's only May 16th, so we're not even halfway through the year yet. We're getting close, but we're not even halfway through the year yet. But June 20th is the greatest date in history because that's my birthday. And next year, 2021, it will be on Father's Day. It happens every few years here and there. And every leap year, it is the first day of summer because we have that extra day in there back in February. So this year, being a leap year, 366 days, June 20th will be the first day of summer. So Stonehenge has always done one of these summer solstice sort of events with druids and shit like that. And they've never really been seen before, except for people who've actually gone to Stonehenge during the summer solstice and seen this sort of production that is done. Well, due to COVID-19 this year and people being quarantined and stuff like that, Stonehenge decided we're going to do something different this year. We're going to live stream it for you. Obviously, it's a 5 to 6 hour difference from the United States to Stonehenge. So they usually do it around sunset. So let's just say sunset is, I don't know, let's just say 8 o'clock over in England. So this summer solstice event will take, well, I guess, I don't know if it's because if it's the actual solstice when they do this, like the time of the solstice they do it, or is it sunset? I'm not sure. Regardless, let's just say it's sunset. So 8 o'clock over there, it would be live streamed at 3 o'clock over here, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, depending on the time change. I forget what it is because, yes, we did turn our clocks. But I was like, God, we did turn our clocks ahead. So yeah, so we're in the right. We're not going to change our clocks again until November. So we're good on that. So they're going to be live streaming the summer solstice celebration for the first time ever. I think that's a really cool idea. It might be even something that I might want to do, since my family reunion that we were going to be planned for that day is now kaput and is going to go to next year. So what can you do? It's COVID-19 stuff. You got to be sure about things. So. Oh, well. Oh, another reason why it's a great birthday is it's on the cusp. It's both it's if you're born on June 20th, you're both a Cancer and a Gemini, which is kind of a funny contradiction because Geminis are these hyper outgoing people and Cancers are these introverted, shy people. So you've got a weird, bizarre sort of double thing going on in my, and I've seen it in myself. Right now I'm kind of blah, blah, blah extroverted. In other events and cases like that, I've been very extroverted and outgoing. But then there are some times where I'm just like, leave me the hell alone. I don't want to be bothered and just be on my own, and I'm fine with it. So I'm the perfect Gemini Cancer. So the cusp is great. IKEA reminds customers not to masturbate in their store after they discovered a woman masturbating in IKEA. Don't masturbate in IKEA. Do it at your own home, please. Thank you. What if it was hot? In Fullerton, I guess it's California, Ohio, or something like that, school lunches, during this time, a lot of schools are giving away free lunches to kids that might not be able to afford regular food, or might be poor, or whatever, or their parents work and they don't have lunches made for them, so they can come to these schools and they'll give them free lunches. It's something that's been going on for a while. So now during this COVID-19 stuff, they're allowing that to happen now. But in this place, in Fullerton, school lunches will come with a side of comic books. So they would give away a comic book with every free lunch that they give away as well, so you can have something to read and look at while you're eating your lunch, which I think is really kind of cool. So that's wild. 2 guys used their friend's ashes as bait because they were all avid fishermen, and then their friend died and had his ashes cremated, and they used his ashes in bait and as bait for fish, and they actually caught the world's biggest carp because of that. And now carps have the taste of human flesh in their mouth. Last week, I think I talked about it. There's been a number of celebrities who've been making wine. I think Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis have one. And who was the other one that had a wine that they were making? Was it Jennifer Aniston or Brad Pitt or something like that? There's another celebrity that had that was making wine also. It seems to be the new thing now. I can't find anything right now. But now we get Post Malone, the musician, has now made a rosé. So he's entering the celebrity wine games as well. So I think that's kind of cool, I guess. So good on that. I'm just seeing if there's something. All right, so it's going to be on the next page, though. Okay. Funfetti cereal is now going to be a thing. Funfetti is like that birthday cake sort of sprinkly sort of dessert thing. Well, there's now going to be a Funfetti cereal now. So good on that. A family makes a chalk sidewalk Monopoly board basically they went around their neighborhood and used the chalk, because I've seen chalk all over my neighborhoods, which is fine because kids need to, do their art and stuff like that. Well, a family went out of their way and they actually made a Monopoly board with all the Monopoly locations, stuff like that, in their neighborhood. That's kind of a pretty cool idea. A 25-year-old YouTube, I guess he's a YouTuber, I guess you could say, guys that spend their whole time on YouTube and make their money because they have millions of viewers, where I have only about 9 when I'm having a good day watching my stuff. A 25-year-old who plays with puppets on his YouTube channel and is a huge YouTube fan and makes money from being on YouTube. He's a YouTuber. Paid $800,000. So he made $800,000, and he paid that to have dinner with, of all people, Tom Brady. What's wrong with you, man? $800,000 just to have dinner with somebody? And you play with puppets on YouTube, and you get all these views, and you make money that way. YouTubers blow my mind in that way, that they can make a lot of money this way. And there are lots of them that can that do that. They can make this their career. And I'll admit I'm a little bit jealous. I wish I could too, but I just don't have the content or the creativity, I guess, to do something like that. I just have this little goofy little show that barely gets any viewers, but no, that's all right. Let's see. Am I going to? These are these are the people behaving badly. I'll get to them in a second. The CW is going to delay all their series for their series premieres till 2021. So to fill the fall season, they're going to be bringing in stragglers that have already aired shows elsewhere. Swamp Thing is one of those. I was going to talk about that later, but now I'll talk about it now. Swamp Thing, which was on the DC online streaming service, which is going to disappear because of other things that are going on there now. It only lasted one season, then DC canceled it. So the CW picked it up. So they're going to air the entire series on the CW. And maybe if it does well, they'll create a second season because everybody wants a second season of it. So we'll see what happens with that. And then there's going to be some other shows that are going to take from Netflix and other stuff, and they're going to air it on their, on the CW till their regular series can, come into play in 2021 once this COVID-19 business is over with. Disney World has canceled the first week of June reservations, but when they do reopen, they're going to implement, social distancing, masks, temperature checks, and stuff like that, plexiglass dividers. So they've got a plan to reopen when they get ready to reopen. They're not going to do it yet. The only one that's reopened right now is Shanghai. Disney World Shanghai, and I think I have that later on in this show as well. So I'll just check it off when I get to it. But they are the only other one that's open right now, and they're basically doing these things right now to just test it out. And Disney World says, it looks pretty good, so we're going to do this as well. The NFL is going to be adding crowd noise and digital fans to their broadcasts until it's going to be okay for people to come back out to the stadiums and watch the football teams. So you'll be watching it on TV, and it'll look like that there are fans in the stands, and you'll hear the crowd noise, and they're actually going to be playing in an empty stadium. So that's kind of weird. I think they'll be pumping in the audience noise as well on that too. But it's still kind of interesting that they're planning on doing that as well. AMC, the channel that's been famous for Mad Men and Breaking Bad and all that, for being a good bastion for original TV series, Walking Dead, stuff like that, has picked up their next batch of series that are probably going to take the place of Walking Dead, as Walking Dead's trajectory is slowly going downhill. And they need to find the next big show. They said, why don't we go to the world of literary and a certain writer by the name of Anne Rice, and we're going to buy the rights to the Vampire Chronicles, Interview with a Vampire, stuff like that, and also the Mayfair Witches. There was a couple of witch books that she wrote also. So they've bought the rights to make shows based on the Vampire Chronicles and the Mayfair Witches. I think it's a good fit. I think it's going to work, except Anne Rice's are a bit more sexual and violent. So either they're going to, I guess, they're able to get away with that on AMC a little more with the shows I just mentioned. So maybe they'll be able to to do it justice. So we'll see. But it makes a lot of sense. I like that. Pungent Poop Pit, which was a grave of 22 Ice Age giant sloth poop pits, has been discovered in Ecuador. So that's quite a find. Hey, guess what I found? I found a poop pit with millions of year-old poop in it, and it still smells. Lapras is one of the most famous Pokemon out there. It's a big, giant, like cute little fuzzy animal, like a Loch Ness Monster sort of type. Well, now you can get a Lapras bed, and it's kind of cute. It looks cute and it looks comfy. So hey, why not? It looks great. Disney's Frozen will not reopen on Broadway. It'll be one of the only plays so far that when Broadway reopens, it will not reopen. It has closed its doors. You will not be able to see Frozen on Broadway anymore. I'm sure eventually that's going to go and they'll do the Broadway across America eventually, but you will not actually be able to see Frozen on Broadway anymore once Broadway reopens up. Disney announced months ago that next year they were going to release a movie version of Hamilton. Now, when I originally saw that, I thought they were going to make like a movie version of it, you know, like you've seen with like Chicago and Hairspray and the producers and stuff like that, where they've actually made a movie version of the musical. No, they were going to release a videotaped production of the original Broadway cast from when it first came out in the movie theaters. They decided because of quarantine and because of stuff like that, we're actually going to release it like 8 to 9 months early. On July 3rd on Disney Plus, Hamilton the movie will be coming to Disney Plus, and I'm actually dying to see it. It's going to be Lin-Manuel is going to be the lead in it, and the original Broadway cast is going to be showing. It's going to just not only is it going to show the play, but it's also going to show some behind the scenes stuff and how plays are done and stuff like that. Sounds great and perfect timing too. July 3rd, right before our July 4th holiday. Seems like a great idea. My daughter's dying to see it because we've been trying to go see it in theater, and it's coming to the Hippodrome next year, but the ticket prices are still exorbitant. But now we'll be able to see it and see what the big deal is about on Disney Plus from our own home. So I think it's a great idea. So that's good on that. Kit Kat is going to be creating the Ruby McFlurry now. So at McDonald's, it's going to be a Kit Kat Ruby McFlurry, which is going to be made with pink chocolate, which I've never even heard of before. But the fact that there's such thing as pink chocolate is insane. I finished a book this week called Isaac Storm by Erik Larsen. It's about the worst natural disaster in United States history. September 1900, a probably class 5 hurricane destroyed Galveston, Texas. And the book is very well written, very cinematic, and it killed between 6,000 and 10,000 people, destroyed 36,000 buildings, and had floods of up to 15 feet. A flood surge of up to 15 feet. Another sequence they talked about was some survivors were on roofs that had blown off of houses, was their raft, and the water would suck it out into the actual Gulf of Mexico and then suck it back into the city. So they didn't know if they were going to be stuck in the Gulf or if they were going to be stuck in the city. Either way, it was covering 2-story houses with water. It was a really interesting story. It described the beginnings of the Weather Bureau and how a lot of people didn't understand how hurricanes were made up at that time and were caught off guard by them. Had winds of up to 125 miles per hour, and it caught everybody off guard. It's a fantastic book. Isaac Storm by Erik Larsen. Pick it up. It's a quick read. I just finished it. Now we have people behaving badly, and this just makes me embarrassed and sad. It makes me want to bang my head because these people are complete and utter idiots, and this is all due to that idiot in the White House. A woman slaps a Red Lobster employee after a long wait time during Mother's Day. First of all, you shouldn't be going to Red Lobster anyway during a quarantine lockdown, and yet you should know that if you are opened, and they are going to be open, and people want to get it, it's going to be a line, and it's Mother's Day, so everybody's going to go out there. So be patient and just settle your ass down. You're not special. You're just like everybody else. So chill out and relax like that. 7-Eleven worker was beaten and doused with coffee after telling a man he had to wear a mask. Again, what's the big deal about not wearing masks? Is to protect yourself and other people from this disease. And it has been noted and proven that if you don't wear masks, you're going to get sick. All these people who have been protesting it without masks have gotten sick. All these places that have opened up early and have been able to allow people to go to restaurants and get their hair done, stuff like that, have been sick because of this, have gotten the disease, and has kept the disease keeping up so that it's not going down. It means we're going to be in quarantine forever. So you are not a special person. Stay in your goddamn house and wear your fucking mask. And it gets better. A Target employee, a security guard, had his arm broken after a fight with a man who, again, refused to wear a mask. A dude broke his fucking arm because he was told to wear a mask. Wear the fucking mask, you fucking lunatic. God damn it. Postal worker was shot and killed after its mail was curtailed. So a homeowner came out and says, I haven't got my mail in a few days. I'm going to shoot and kill you. What in the hell is the matter with you? There's a fucking pandemic. Don't you understand that? God. I just want to, God, I want to reach in there and I'm going to shake people and say, what's the matter with you? All right, I'm all right. I'm okay. Doing a happy dance. Doing a happy dance. And finally, a man bites police officer while she was trying to explain to him what a quarantine is. Fucking lunatics. And that fucking asshole in the White House, the fucking fault of it. Whew. All right. I'm all right. All right. Page and a half now. Got 15 minutes. Let's see if we can do this. What the hell did I write? Oh, Vincent Cassell, who is not a really well-known actor. He claims that DC and Marvel movies are for kids. Well, we've had this discussion before. You can have your opinion, whatever, but who cares? Who are you anyway? And why are you saying this stuff just because you think that, oh, they're not really real movies, stuff like that? Just shut the hell up and just go back to work, you asshole. Black Sheep Brewery. This is awesome, though. This is something I wish I could have, but it's in England only. Black Sheep Brewery has created a Monty Python, the Holy Grail beer. And you can, if you buy a case of it, you get 2 glasses that has the Holy Grail on, stuff like that. And I'd love to try that, but I went to try to order it. It's all costs are in pounds. So it's English and it would have to be shipped overseas, and it probably wouldn't work. The Matrix 4 cast and crew are hoping that they'll be able to restart their shooting of the movie in July. They've also signed an 8-week extension of their contracts, which means they're going to add 8 weeks because of all this stuff that's been happening to the tail end of the filming of it. So they are covered for 8 weeks after the initial end of film, which was supposed to be sometime, I guess, in the next month or so. They've added an extension to 8 weeks to finish it up. Huge herd of goats runs amok through San Jose, California. It was a wild videotape of just these goats just running around and just taking over the entire town. It was really kind of cool. Secret Invasion TV show may be coming to Disney Plus, which has the Skrulls coming in and impersonating other superheroes, stuff like that. Could be an interesting, probably be best for the story itself, would probably be best to be on Disney Plus because it would have to be more episodic than a movie. I don't think you'd be able to fit it all into a movie. Nickelodeon sent some green slime up with the most recent astronauts who flew up into the ISS. So we have green slime in the ISS right now. It was the first time ever that green slime has been in an international space station. So, hey, that's pretty cool. I don't know what the big deal is. Only fans of You Can't Do That on Television would understand that last reference. Matt Damon's daughter has COVID-19. I shouldn't have made fun of Matt Damon because his daughter has COVID-19. Hopefully she'll make a recovery and be all right. But it's it's still out there, and it's It's not going away anytime soon because people are stupid and fucking idiots. Rats make art with their paws, and their work has been sold out for ages. It's cute, adorable mice making and rats making artwork with their little paws, and it's really cute and it's really neat to see. Aggressive swarm of bees kills 3 dogs in Arizona. God damn, 2020, what in the hell's the matter with you? And these aren't even the murder hornets. Paper Mario, which was a series that's been pretty big in Nintendo, stuff like that, will be coming to the Nintendo Switch later this year. So good on that. That should be pretty cool. A woman marries a man who saved her life a few years ago in the Las Vegas shooting after only knowing the man for one day. I read the story. It's one of these cute, uplifting sort of stories. So the day before that mass Las Vegas shooting a couple of years ago at a country festival where a lot of people died and a lot of people were injured, this couple, met at a bar, and the guy tried to hit on her and she knocked him down, but he wasn't going to give up. So he hit on her again and she finally acquiesced. So they went out on a date. It was a nice date. And he offered to say, hey, why don't we go to the last concert of this country music festival, because they were both there for the country music festival. The last show is going to be at this place. Let's go to that and let's just have a good time. And she's like, yeah, I had a great time on this date. Why don't we go out again? And we're here. May as well go ahead and do it. So they go to the concert and they're having a good time, And as I said, they've just been on one date and have only met for, they've only known each other for about 2 days. And then the world ended for the most part. This guy opens fire on the crowd, kills lots and lots of people, injures lots of people. This guy leapt on the woman, got her out of the way, protected her, put his body behind her so that they could escape and deflect any bullets. They got away without any injuries. And from that point on, they were inseparable. And so they stayed together for a couple years, 2-3 years. He proposed, she accepted, and they just got married. So congratulations. That's even in adversity, love can blossom. So that's fantastic. 12-year-old buys a 3D printer so he can make PPE for his grandmother's nursing home. Again, another really good feel-good story. And it's good to have some feel-good stories considering all the crap that's going on in the world right now. So it's good to see that. And he did it of his own volition, didn't have anything else, any other reason to do it except he wanted to do it and help his grandmother and the nursing home and all her friends. So that's great, guy. Keep it up. I ain't going to finish this by the 1:30 mark. So it might be 1:40 probably. New York City breaks a record for 58 straight days with no pedestrian deaths. Okay, I guess that's good, but because nobody's out and about, nobody's getting hit by cars or buses or cabs. So hey, that's another plus winning thing. I've never heard of this, but black hot ice may be nature's most common form of water. I've never even heard of black hot ice, but they say it could be the most common form of water. So I guess it's out there somewhere. I'm not sure where, but it is. NASA director says that the next pandemic/virus might actually come from outer space. Michael Crichton wrote a fantastic novel called The Andromeda Strain, and a sequel has been written by someone else since Michael Crichton's been dead for a couple of years by now. But The Andromeda Strain was a great story that was written in the early 1980s that had a similar bent to this, where an asteroid crash lands in a Texas town or whatever. They discover a virus that wipes out the town, and they're able to lock it down in this laboratory, and they try to find a way to fight it, but somehow it escapes. Something happens and the virus escapes in this underground bunker, and the crew has to figure out a way to stop it before it gets out into the world and kills everybody in the world, because there's nothing that could stop it. They say that's not so far-fetched. It could happen, could be the next pandemic virus. Do with that what you will. A strange object has been spotted on the moon of Mars called Phobos. It looks sort of similar to the The Black Obelisk, that's in 2001. I think this is an old story, actually. I think I remember talking about this, but it was an interesting picture. There's a picture that shows that it's actually standing up. There's a shadow that appears that it is like one of these little obelisk things. Plus, this is also like the anniversary of when a Russian satellite was destroyed, possibly by a cigar-shaped object. The last photo it took before they lost contact with it was of a cigar-shaped object approaching it. So they don't know if it was, and they were checking out Phobos. So who knows what's going on with that? So that's pretty wild. Every week there's one I can't understand here. Oh, I got now. This is pretty cool. Neil Gaiman, talked about he broke up with his wife last week. Well, one of his early creations that got my notice of him before his writing, his novels, he wrote the comic Sandman, which is one of the greatest comics from DC Comics of the late 1980s, early 90s. And it's always been they've been trying to figure out a way to make a film version of it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was involved at one point. He's not anymore. And then they had another plan set for Netflix, and then COVID-19 happened, so now they're sort of stuck right now. But what they're going to do now is the Sandman audio play will be coming July 15th and has a very impressive cast. Let's see if I can find this. There it is. Including James McAvoy as Morpheus the Sandman, Kat Dennings as Death, Riz Ahmed as the Corinthian, Taron Egerton as John Constantine, Samantha Morton as Urania Blackwell, Neil Gaiman as the narrator, Bebe Neuwirth as the Siamese cat, Andy Serkis as Matthew the Raven, Michael Sheen as Lucifer. Will also be starring Justin Vivian Bond as Desire, Arthur Darvill as William Shakespeare, William Hope as Dr. Destiny, Matthew Horn as Bob Gadling, Reginald D. Hunter as John Jones, Sue Johnston as Unity Kincaid, Patterson Joseph as the Demon Corazon, Josie Lawrence as Mad Hetty, Anton Lesser as Dr. John Hathaway, Joanna Lumley as Lady Joanna Constantine, Miriam Margolyes as Despair, and a whole bunch of other people. Now, for people who are like, who are half of these names of people and characters you never heard of, you got to read Sandman to find out. It's basically looks like they're going to be doing like the first like 20 issues of Sandman in this audio play. But it's coming July 15th on Spotify, I believe. I might have to listen to that. It sounds really cool. It's got a great cast, so fantastic. I think I talked about this before, but there's a Fruity Pebble no-bake cheesecake recipe out now. If you like Fruity Pebbles and cheesecake, there you go. We thought this was a cursed film. Well, the New Mutants finally has a new date now to come out in movie theaters. It's August 28th. We'll see if that sticks around. But whenever they announce a date, something always comes up and it gets pushed back again. This movie's been done for 2 years and has been trying to find a release date and has not yet. But people want to see it, and here's hoping, fingers crossed, that this is the last time they'll be able to see it. Doom Patrol Series 2 is going to debut on HBO Max. Doom Patrol Series 1 was part of the DC streaming service, which obviously looks like it's going to be losing everything because everything is disappearing off of it. HBO Max has a good deal going on that I might have to look into because you can get it now before May 27th. It'll be $11.99 a month, which is what Netflix is actually a little less than Netflix. And you get all that HBO stuff. So I'm talking to my wife about it because she's interested in getting it for the anime aspect of it for her and my daughter. There's Swamp Thing's coming to CW. A video shows a bear breaking into a cabin, steals M&Ms, chips, and beer. Those bears know how to party out west. Orphan Rhino, found next to his dead mom, is treated like a king by the humans who saved her, given mud baths and food, and is loved crazily, and so the rhino's lapping it all up. Robert Downey Jr. is producing a comic book a Netflix adaptation of the comic book Sweet Tooth, was really supposed to be on Hulu, but now it jumps to Netflix. It's Jeff Lemire's really bizarre story, and Robert Downey Jr. will not be in it, but he will be producing it, so that's pretty interesting. 2020 just keeps getting worse. A tropical storm should be coming, probably will be hitting Florida by tomorrow or Monday, and then eventually move its way up there. Hurricane season does not start till June 1st, and here it is, May 16th, May 17th, May 18th, when the first tropical storm pops up. So, hey, why not? It's 2020. Everything's all messed up as it is. There's the Heinz ketchup puzzle, which is basically just a red puzzle with the word Heinz on it. So I was talking about clear and white, all white ones. It's like the new trend now in puzzles. The Garbage Pail Kids have got their own Monopoly game. So, hey, why not? You know, maybe they'll have a Drillin' Dylan address. That'd be really cool. A turtle statue was found submerged in the Angular Reservoir. Reservoir. That's pretty interesting to see a turtle statue down there. Skinny pigs are the new pet you all want. Is a hairless guinea pig that looks like a baby hippo. Golf carts are moving up in the world. They are now going to be, there is now a motorcycle styled golf cart, excuse me. Twitter employees can now work from home forever. So if you work for Twitter and you don't want to go to the office anymore, you can now work from home for eternity, according to the CEO. Tomorrow is Incense Day on Pokemon Go. They'll be incensing water and dark types every other hour from 11 to 5. Next Sunday will be Seed Community Day, and the Hoenn research was this week, and I finished it in 2 hours. So, and I have a whole week of Hoenn stuff to sketch. I'm working on the kids' ones right now. It's going to take a little longer, but I finished mine in 2 hours. So that's pretty interesting. People are making tiny chocolate chips and putting them in their cereal. And everyone seems like it's a big deal. Cookie Crisp did it first, but they're actually making real mini chocolate chip cookies and throwing them into cereal. I think it makes sense. You make actual mini, not the weird fake Cookie Crisp ones, but real chocolate chip cookies with chocolate chips in it, and add milk to it. Why not? You get everything chocolate chips dipped in milk like that. Some football news. The NFC East is going to be taking on the Bird Gauntlet this year. They will be playing every team that has a bird logo, including the Ravens, the Seahawks, the Eagles, I can't think of any other ones right now because I'm Cardinals, because I'm tired. But they are playing all the birds this year. And the Jets and Dolphins will be making history as well. They will play each other like let's say week 12, like say week 8. Then they both have a bye week 9, and then they play each other again week 10. So they're playing each other back to back within a 3-week period. So that's never really happened before, but it's going to happen this year because, hey, the NFL is weird this year. Liquid reactive Pennywise umbrella drips blood when it rains and hits your umbrella. So you've got an umbrella, has Pennywise's face on it. You're walking along and the rain hits it. And when the rain hits it, it creates looks like blood dripping down. So it doesn't actually make the rain blood, but it's the reactive stuff on the umbrella makes the rain, when the water hits it, looks like blood drying down. And so that's pretty interesting. Giant planet found to orbit a white dwarf, which has never been seen before, because white dwarfs are like right before a star dies. And now you have a giant planet that I think is bigger than Jupiter in orbit around a white dwarf. So that's an interesting little aspect. Bill Murray and Guy Fieri are going to be competing in a nacho cook-off. I didn't know Bill Murray could cook, but hey, I guess so. Angry Asian Murder Hornet movie is coming from your B movie stars. Why not? They did a coronavirus one, which I talked about a couple weeks ago. Why not a Angry Asian Murder Hornet movie as well? Major League Baseball owners have approved the season to start in July. Now it's just up to the Players Union to decide they're going to do that as well. If they do, we're going to get baseball in July. So that's pretty interesting. I love Arby's, and I miss Arby's. I had a chance to go to Arby's, but I will wait until it's okay to go before I go again. But Lego has created an Arby's set, and it's built its own Arby's. I think that's kind of cool. Amazon is possibly thinking about buying AMC Theaters. AMC Theaters is on the verge of bankruptcy. They will not be reopening until August, I think they said, which is when most movies are going to be coming out anyway. Maybe July. I think mid-July now, I think is what they were saying. Maybe mid-June, mid-July, somewhere around there. But Amazon is thinking about buying AMC Theaters, and I don't know what that would mean for the movie industry or for Amazon itself. So to be continued. I talked about Shanghai. Disneyland is open. A California surfer aged 26 was mauled to death by a shark after he snuck into a closed-off beach due to the coronavirus shutdown and went surfing against the law, and he ended up getting eaten by a shark, which means don't break the law or else you get eaten by a shark. Another weird story, a man stabs himself and then throws his intestines at the police. Psychopath. Now, we all know about the murder hornets that are coming into Washington State. Well, after murder hornets make their way through, Washington State's going to have to worry about a new crisis. Gypsy moths are back. Wonderful. Corgi butt buns filled with jam or custard is a new delicacy in Japan. No, it's not actual corgi butt. It's bread that looks like corgi butts that have jelly or cream in it, so or custard in it. So if you like to eat corgi butts, go for it. The pyro trombone that shoots out fire when you play. I need to get my daughter to learn how to do that because she's a trombone player, but it was someone actually created a way to shoot fire out of their trombone while they're playing it. It's kind of interesting. Bomb pops with stuff in the middle are coming back into freezers everywhere this summer. So that's good. And two final stories, one weird, one typical Baltimore one. For those who don't know, everyone knows that people have been focused on Mars. Lots of probes and landers, stuff like that, have hit Mars. But what about Venus? Now, what we know about Venus is that Venus is hotter than the sun when you get to the surface, basically because they have a greenhouse effect multiplied by 1 million, basically, because the cloud cover traps the heat of the volcanoes and the closeness to the sun on the surface, which metal, when landing on Venus, will melt quickly. Now, the Russians have been able to launch landers onto Venus from 1975 to 83. So they launched a bunch of landers that landed on Venus and survived long enough to send back pictures. Again, looks similar to Mars, Jupiter, whatever, Mars, Saturn, Mars, Earth, Titan, stuff like that. Weird rocky crags, stuff like that. But it has, instead of a red tinge, it has sort of a yellow tinge to it. And so that's how we get what the view of Venus is. Now, one of the newest things now is that they're thinking about maybe just staying, because you really can't land anything on Venus's surface because it'll melt. And there's lots of volcanoes and earthquakes on there too. But if you send it up into the clouds, they might be able to survive. You might be able to take pictures from the clouds, and it'll be, easier to fly around, stuff like that. So we'll see if that's going to happen. But the reason I'm bringing this up is Russian scientists have been examining footage that they were taken recently, again, from those satellites from 75, 83, whatever. I guess they keep looking for stuff and they keep checking. And someone recently discovered what might very well be life on Venus. Now, we've seen the weird videos of potential life on Mars and stuff like that. Well, this one, they are utilizing pictures of the same area from 75 to 83, so multiple shots from the same area. And they see this one object that's sort of very lizard-like that seems to move depending on, so 75, it was in one spot, and then 77, it was over here, and then 79, it was over here, and 83, it was over here. So it's moving around. So it's not a rock, because if it was a rock, it would stay static the whole time. So something is on the surface of Venus moving around, and they don't know what that is. So that's something kind of new and interesting that no one has really talked about too much, and makes it kind of interesting. I think, last week I said, what I've been saying is that you need to look for life on other planets. Maybe these creatures have adapted to the high temperatures and the the volcanoes and earthquakes and stuff like that on the surface, that they can move around like this. So to be continued, we'll see more about that. Finally, only in Baltimore, a stolen car rams into a police cruiser. The driver of the stolen car gets out and runs away. The policemen see the guy get out, run away. They get out of their police car, give chase to try to catch him and arrest him for stealing cars, and then running into the police cruiser. While they're running to apprehend the guy who stole the car, the stolen car gets stolen again by someone else. Only in Baltimore. All right, that is tonight's episode of Dylan Knows. Episode 350 will be next week. So everybody else be safe out there. We'll be looking into the May 23rd zone just before Memorial Day weekend. So take care and be safe, and look to the skies, because there's all kinds of weird stuff happening out there. Bye-bye.